Hello, young guns, and welcome to your first edition of Ms. Rave Reads My Test Online. It's exciting because you get to watch YouTube. Other exciting things, today's recording will feature me wearing a variety of different hats. Our first hat is the Yosemite hat that I got from California when I went to see my brother. It's going to bring us good luck. So, my need from you is, as I read, you need to follow along. Please make sure that you are tracking your words with your finger or a pencil on your test. When we get to a question, your job is to make sure that you are highlighting or underlining keywords in your question and eliminating bad answers. The beauty of YouTube is that you can rewind very easily. Please listen again if you need to. Make sure you read again, okay? Do not rush. So we are going to begin. We are starting at the top with The Gum Caper by Robert Cormier. So please be here, be ready to follow along. So there I was in a 7-Eleven, standing in line with the middle school kids, waiting to pay for, of all things, bubblegum. I'll say one thing about the kids. They didn't regard me with either suspicion or hostility or amusement. They simply assumed that this bewildered-looking adult liked bubblegum and was being very careful about picking out the right kind. But it so happens that I have not chewed gum in years, and the reason I was buying some was... But let's go back a bit. A minor accident a couple of days before had left my car crippled by a radiator with 2 leaks. The problem was getting the car to that garage out of town where it could receive the attention of Wally, the mechanic. Wally is a terrific mechanic. More than that, he is a true craftsman, almost an artist at his work. He takes pride in the jobs that he performs. He treats cars and motors with respect. Anyway, I called Wally about the accident and about the radiator and asked him if he could send a tow truck up this way to haul the car in. Wally said he would have to hire an outside tow truck, but that it would be very expensive. Then he added, "But you can drive it down here yourself." "But the radiator has 2 leaks and won't hold the water," I said. "What you do is this. Get some chewing gum and seal up the leaks," Wally said. Now, if I didn't know that Wally was an expert, I'd have ignored the suggestion and said, just send the tow truck. I mean chewing gum, for crying out loud. But I trust Wally implicitly in matters mechanical, and although I was still doubtful, I went up to the store and bought the gum. It took me a while to buy it because I was looking for volume, and I finally figured that bubble gum would do the trick. Back home, I asked a certain child, who had just turned 7, if she felt like chewing some gum. "Bubble gum," I said. She greeted the question with surprise because ordinarily we don't encourage her to chew gum. In fact, we discourage her. I said, "I've got a couple of packages here that have to be chewed right away." Her eyes danced with delight, all disbelief suspended. "How come, Dad?" she asked. "Well, the radiator in the car leaks, and I'm going to use the gum to plug up the holes." "Oh," she said, accepting the answer without question. She has complete faith in her father, despite the cut fingers and scratched hands my projects usually inflict upon me. She goes right on believing. So we sat there chewing a while, and it was fun in a way. We blew a couple of bubbles because, after all, that's what bubblegum is all about. And then we went out to challenge the car. I lifted the hood, unscrewed the radiator cap, which took a few minutes. I finally had to pry it off, and inserted the hose in the mouth of the radiator. The faucet was turned on and the water gushed into the radiator, and sure enough, the water spurted from the leaks. I had hoped really that the radiator might have sealed itself or something because frankly, I didn't think the gum would work. And I could envision myself on a back road somewhere with a radiator suddenly turning into a fountain as the gum gave way. Despite the doubts, I took the chewing gum and jammed it against the leaks, and the spurting stopped. I refilled the radiator and looked again. No leaks. Later, we went off to the garage and the trip passed without incident. In fact, it was beautiful. Near the airport, a plane flew low overhead, and 9 or 10 parachutists tumbled out, and they floated in the air like blossoms falling from a tree. That was worth the trip alone. At the garage, I handed Wally the keys and said in triumph, "I made it." The end. So, we're going to answer the questions, and I'm going to change my hat. Hat hair. Next up, Virginia Tech hat for winning. Question number 1. We are highlighting, we are underlining, and we are going to eliminate some answers, folks. Her eyes danced with delight is an example of what literary device? Now remember, literary device just means thing. Her eyes dance with delight is an example of what thing? Is it A, onomatopoeia? Is it B, personification? C, conflict? D, metaphor? Please take the time to eliminate at least one answer before you move on. Pause this while you do your answer. Number 2. What is meant by the narrator's statement, "He's a true craftsman, almost an artist at his work"? Please take the time to go back into the story and find that line. What does the narrator mean? Does he mean A, the narrator believes Wally will make an artistic creation out of the radiator? B, the narrator feels Wally is a great painter and sculptor? C, Wally is able to repair any car which needs fixing? Or D, Wally does a spectacular job painting and customizing cars? 3, we are going to click on all correct answers. The author's purpose in using figurative language with the phrase, "her eyes dance with delight," is it to convey a feeling of disbelief, to relate a feeling of joy, to indicate that she liked to dance, or to give a human quality to an object? Remember, the directions here say that you are checking all that apply. Number 4. Again, we are clicking on all correct answers. Which of the following inferences can the reader make? Remember, an inference is simply a guess. The narrator is not skilled as a car mechanic. The narrator has experience repairing cars. The narrator does not typically chew gum. The narrator has a son. So the question is asking us, which of those things can we say are true based on what we read? Please go back into the story and prove them either right or wrong. Number 5, which organizational pattern does the author use for most of the passage? Remember, the passage is a short story. Is it A, compare and contrast, B, chronological or sequencing, C, process, or D, concept definition? Number 6, the story is mainly about A, an artist has to fix his car, B, a man goes to a 7-Eleven with his daughter, C, a man who uses an unlikely method to fix his car, or D, a man's car has a broken radiator. Remember, main idea must cover the whole passage, the whole story. Number 7, the story is told from which point of view? A, third person omniscient. B, third person limited. C, second person. Or D, first person. Make sure you go back into the story, see who the narrator is, see whose thoughts and feelings we can see. Number 8, please take those events and put them in order. drag them and put them in order on the computer, or if you're writing on paper, please number them 1 to 4. 1 should be the first, 4 should be the last. The events are: they use chewed gum to plug the leaks. He asks his daughter to chew the gum. The leaking stops, they drive to the garage. A man buys bubble gum. All right, we are at the end of that passage. So please take the time to go back, look over what you put, re-listen, reread if you need to, and then we'll move on to the next one.